Some crimes get solved, and the bad guys go to jail. But what about the crimes that don't? The stories where the final chapter is missing because the killers literally vanished and the victims' stories never got finished. These are the cases that are completely insane. They get into your head and just don't let go. These are mysteries written in blood, but the last few pages were ripped out, leaving behind nothing but questions, crazy theories, and a terrifying silence. Today, we're counting down some of the world's most chilling unsolved murders. The cases that are so crazy, investigators are still baffled, and we are still fascinated decades later. From the foggy streets of old-school England to sunny Hollywood, these are the stories of the killers who actually got away with it. Jack the Ripper. First up, we're going all the way back to 1888, to the gritty, foggy Whitechapel district in London. In this maze of dark alleys, a shadow came to life and basically invented the modern serial killer. He was never caught, he was never even identified, but the entire world would know him by the name he gave himself, Jack the Ripper. Between August and November of that year, a series of unbelievably brutal murders took over the city. The victims were all women on the edge of society, totally vulnerable and just trying to survive. At least 5 of these murders, known as the Canonical Five, are believed to be the work of one man. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly all had a terrifying end. The way he killed was on another level of savage. He didn't just kill them, he mutilated their bodies with insane precision and even took internal organs with him. This made everyone think the killer had to be a doctor or a surgeon. The investigation was a total disaster. Scotland Yard was completely overwhelmed, chasing a ghost in a city that was freaking out. They interviewed over 2,000 people and checked out hundreds, but nobody was ever charged. The killer seemed to love playing a twisted game with the police and the newspapers, sending them a ton of taunting letters. One of them, the famous "From Hell" letter, was sent with a box that had part of a human kidney inside. Another letter, "Dear Boss," was the first time anyone ever saw the signature that would become legendary, Jack the Ripper. This was before any real forensic science existed, so the police had no chance. There was no fingerprinting, no DNA, and crime scenes were a contaminated mess. The killer just disappeared back into the London crowds, leaving behind nothing but terror and one of history's biggest mysteries. Recently, some people have claimed that DNA from a shawl, supposedly found at a crime scene, points to a Polish barber named Aaron Kosminski, who was a suspect back then. But these claims are super controversial and haven't been officially accepted as the final answer.
So for now, the case of Jack the Ripper is still officially unsolved. A horrifying story that has fascinated people for over 100 years.
The Black Dahlia. From foggy London, we now jump to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood after the war. This is where a super dark tragedy would create a mystery that is as gruesome as it is famous. This is the insane case of the Black Dahlia. Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was a 22-year-old aspiring actress with amazing dark hair and a huge smile. Like thousands of others, she came to Los Angeles to chase her dream of being a star. But on January 15, 1947, her story became a complete nightmare. A mom was walking with her kid in a random empty lot in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, when she saw what she thought was a store mannequin. It was actually the body of Elizabeth Short. The scene was beyond brutal. Her body had been cut in half at the waist, drained of every drop of blood, and cleaned with a creepy level of care. Her face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, creating a horrifying grin known as a Glasgow smile. The killer posed her body, turning this murder into a terrifying spectacle. The media went crazy over the story. They nicknamed her the Black Dahlia, which made the tragedy sound like a movie, and her murder was on the front page of every newspaper for months.
The investigation was a mess right from the start. The LAPD was drowning in tips and, believe it or not, a flood of confessions. Over 60 people actually confessed to the murder. Every single one of them was a fake. The real killer, or maybe just a troll, even sent a package to the press with some of Short's things, all wiped clean of fingerprints. The insane media coverage and all the false leads completely destroyed the investigation. She was killed somewhere else and dumped in the lot, so there was no real crime scene. And with all the fake news, detectives hit dead end after dead end. Dozens of theories have come out over the years, with some people, like a former LAPD detective named Steve Hodel, even accusing their own family members. But nothing has ever been proven. The murder of Elizabeth Short is still one of Hollywood's darkest secrets, and a crazy reminder of how a young woman's dream came to a brutal end. The Zodiac Killer. While the Black Dahlia case had tons of fake confessions, our next killer practically begged for the spotlight. He gave himself a name, a creepy symbol, and turned his murders into a public game. In the late 1960s, Northern California was being terrorized by the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac is confirmed to have killed at least 5 people between 1968 and 1969, but in his letters, he claimed he killed 37. His attacks were usually on young couples in secluded spots. He was so bold, he would sometimes call the police himself to report the murders he just committed. But it was his letters to the newspapers that made him famous. The Zodiac sent a bunch of insane, taunting letters to papers like the San Francisco Chronicle. They usually started with, "This is the Zodiac speaking." In them, he'd reveal details that only the killer could possibly know. He also sent crazy ciphers, promising his identity was hidden inside them. One of these, the Z340, was a mystery for 51 years, until a team of amateur code breakers finally cracked it in 2020. His symbol, a circle with a cross through it, became a symbol of pure terror. The investigation was one of the biggest in American history. Police followed thousands of leads and looked at a ton of suspects. The most famous one was Arthur Lee Allen, a guy with a sketchy past who was ID'd by a survivor. Allen even owned a Zodiac brand watch and lived near some of the murders, but it was all circumstantial evidence, and it was never enough to prove it was him. He died in 1992, saying he was innocent. In the last few years, forensic genealogy has given a tiny bit of hope, with investigators looking at DNA from the stamps and envelopes the Zodiac sent. And even though some independent groups have claimed they've found the killer, the FBI says the case is still open and unsolved. The Zodiac Killer stepped into the spotlight to become a media sensation. And then, just like that, he was gone, leaving behind a legacy of fear and one of the most frustrating cold cases ever. The women of Ciudad Juarez. The mysteries we've talked about so far were about one ghost-like killer who became a legend. But what happens when the mystery isn't one person, but a huge crisis that has killed hundreds? For our last case, we're going to the border city of Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Since the early 1990s, Juarez has been ground zero for an insane and ongoing wave of violence against women. Hundreds of women, with some estimates saying over 500 by 2011, have been brutally murdered or have just disappeared. Many of the victims are young, poor workers in the maquiladoras, the factories that blew up in the city. They're kidnapped, tortured, and their bodies are found thrown in the desert or in empty lots. Unlike a single serial killer, the femicides in Juarez are a super complex tragedy with no easy answer. Crimes have been blamed on everything from domestic violence and lone serial killers to cartels and human trafficking rings. But what makes this so frustrating is the total failure of the authorities to solve these cases or bring anyone to justice. For years, the families of the victims have accused the police of being incompetent, not caring, and even being corrupt. Investigations have been a complete mess, with lost evidence, contaminated crime scenes, and confessions that were supposedly gotten through torture. Even with international pressure and a ruling from the Inter-American Court of Human Rights that slammed the Mexican government for doing nothing, the violence just keeps going, and most of these cases are still unsolved. Mothers and activists march holding photos of their missing daughters, a powerful and heartbreaking symbol of a crisis that is nowhere near over. The mystery here isn't just who killed these women. It's why has an entire system let so many people die with zero consequences? This isn't some old case from the past. It's a tragedy that's still happening right now, where justice is just a desperate hope for thousands of families. These cases have way more questions than answers. They're like puzzles where half the pieces are just gone, and the hunt for the truth literally never stops. And for us, this is just the beginning. Each of these stories deserves its own deep dive, and that's exactly what's coming next. We'll be dedicating entire future episodes to uncovering every single chilling detail of Jack the Ripper's reign of terror, the web of secrets surrounding the Black Dahlia, the twisted mind games of the Zodiac Killer, and the heartbreaking fight for justice in Ciudad Juarez. If you think these mysteries are as insane as we do, and you don't want to miss those deep dives, smash that subscribe button and like this video. It helps us a ton so we can keep exploring the unknown. From a shadowy figure in Victorian London to a massive crisis on the US-Mexico border, these unsolved cases are insane. Jack the Ripper, the Black Dahlia's killer, and the Zodiac became dark legends, but the real people who did these crimes were never punished. And for the women of Juarez, justice is something they're still fighting for, not something they have. These stories stick around because they tap into one of our biggest fears, that violence can just appear out of nowhere for no reason, and that sometimes the bad guys just get away with it. They're a crazy look at the dark side of people and the painful, unanswered questions that can haunt us forever. Do you think any of these cases will ever be solved? Or are some mysteries just meant to stay mysteries forever? Let us know what you think in the comments below right now.